Jill Zimmerman.
Hi, everybody. It is such an honor to be here with all of you and such an incredible lineup of wonderful teachers. So I'm glad to see that a bunch of you are awake. And so what I want to talk about tonight is the Torah of this moment. You know, we, as has been expressed, we know that on Shavuot we receive Torah. And part of that is, you know, we read, as Rabbi Einstein so eloquently talked about, not only the 10 Commandments, but also all of the mitzvot. But in the largest possible sense, what we receive on Shavuot is wisdom. Wisdom, with a capital W, the wisdom of Torah. And I want to share with you that, you know, we are receiving Torah tonight in a most unusual way. And so I want to talk a little bit about what that means. And I want to say to you that I'm going to share my screen with you because I did, for the first time ever, I did a PowerPoint. Can you see it? Is it good? Great. Okay. So the Torah of sheltering in place, might there be a gift? And so we'll start with this, which is that we know that the Torah was given in the wilderness. It was given in the desert. We left Egypt, we wandered. There was no map, but we went forth into this wilderness, into the desert. And we arrived at the mountain. And it was there that we received Torah. We received wisdom. And I want to bring that forward. That's the general large context of where we are. But right now, we are also in a wilderness. And so for the first time ever, I would have to say in my own life that the wilderness is not just a metaphor. It's really real right now. And what I'm talking about is 100,000 souls, actually more than that at this point, 100,000 worlds. 40 million people are unemployed. There's enormous economic despair. You think about the wilderness of unemployment. There's food lines, poverty, and just tonight, as someone mentioned, just enormous racial injustice, riots now tonight in this pandemic that we haven't seen in such a long time here, corruption, and people in general are overwhelmed, uncertain, exhausted, sad, angry, confused. And that's just the beginning. My feeling is that we don't even know what this landscape is going to be like. I think the biggest thing that you can say about this time right now and what is to come is we don't know. We haven't really even begun the national grieving and how we're going to put all this together. So the understatements of this time is that it's unprecedented and truly in a place of we don't know. And I think it's important that as we talk about the wilderness, that we realize that not only was Torah given in the wilderness, but right now we are in our own kind of wilderness. And the question is, might there be a gift? And as Rabbi Miko spoke about, the idea of matana is that there's a piece in Numbers where it says, and from where we get this idea that there was a gift in the wilderness, and from these two words in Numbers, which says from midbar to matana. And as Rabbi Miko mentioned, that matana means that there's a gift. And so there's an understanding is that from the wilderness, there was a gift. And usually the gift that we speak about is the gift is Torah. There's also this idea, well, I'm not going to do this piece. Well, I will do this piece. Okay, so in the Talmud, there's a beautiful teaching that says, what is another interpretation of what does it mean from the wilderness, matana, a gift, is that when a person makes him or herself like the wilderness, hefker, okay, free and open, Torah is given to her as a gift, as it says, from the wilderness, a gift. And so I want to make a few suggestions about how we might look upon this time as a gift, not to deny the pain and the difficulty of this moment, but to really see if we can continue to walk through this time with consciousness and therefore receive an unexpected gift of this time. And so I have 3 suggestions, 3 recommendations, 3 ideas that I want to offer to you. The first is from Isaiah, who says, "Go, my people, enter your chambers and lock your doors behind you. Hide but a little moment until the indignation passes." And there's this idea in this text of Isaiah that there are times to take shelter, to lock your doors behind you, to hide for a bit. There's many, many times in the Talmud, especially as you would guess, where there were plagues set upon the people. And there are many, many different texts that talk about how important it is to go inside your homes and to protect yourself. But I want to suggest that this text ends with until the indignation passes. So the idea is that you both recognize that there is a time to take safety and know that it will pass. And so the first idea is to embrace the shelter, to accept the shelter, to not fight against it, but to actually open and embrace this time. The second suggestion, and this is different than embrace the shelter. I made a mistake in my PowerPoint. It comes from Psalms, the idea that is expressed here in Psalms. And this translation is by Shir Yaakov Felt, and I love it. And he says, "I'll be planted like a tree beside divided waters, and I will create as I await our time to rise." And so again, we have this duality of accepting where we are, as well as being patient and waiting for our time to rise. And this idea that we should be like a tree. So number 2 is be like a tree. And here's a commentary on this same verse. "And he shall be like a tree. He is a tree planted upon streams of water, which is continually satisfied. So she rejoices continually in her portion, whether she has little to eat or much." It's like enormous equanimity here. And the interpretation of streams of water is that there is a stream of water on this side and a stream of water on that side, and they will be passing under it, and it will always be over them. So if you just have that image of a tree where you're completely being nourished in this time, and how important it is to have things and people and resources that are nourishment for you, like streams, that you can just sit and be settled, being nourished by these streams, knowing that you are surrounded, that your roots are in the ground to the earth, like you do in yoga, where you stand and you're rooted, and that your branches reach toward the sky. So the second suggestion about navigating this time is to be like a tree. Surround yourself with nourishment, be rooted, and again, know that this is but a season. And the third recommendation comes from another psalm, which is be still and know that I am God. And so the third intention is about being still. I don't know if you have noticed this, but in our neighborhood, we've noticed this incredible amount of activity of creatures where we have birds nesting on our back porch and we have butterflies, actually caterpillars that are going to hopefully turn into butterflies in the front. And there is so much more bird and creature activity. And it's like our entire country has become more still. And the reason I put this as an intention is to just encourage you to notice that stillness. And I know that some people are very anxious to get back. And I would hate for us to have been in anxiety and missed this opportunity to be still and to notice. I want to share with you a teaching of my teacher, Rabbi Richard Levy, may his memory be a blessing, who looked at the verb in be still. You can see this verb here, harpu, and the root of that verb here, the root of that stillness, is in the he feel form. And it also can mean, in addition to be still, to let drop, to abandon, to relax, to refrain, to forsake, to let go, to be quiet. And Rabbi Levy writes this in his book of Psalms on this particular word: release, loosen your grip, relax. And so this is a time that we're off the regular, is a time to loosen our grip, to open our hands and to be in this stillness. So I would say about these three suggestions to summarize your Torah of sheltering in place. Each one of us writes a Torah with our own life. So we not only receive Torah on Shavuot, but we also live our Torah. And the question is, what is the story that you're going to write about this time that we're in? This time of sheltering in place, of quarantine, what is the story? And these three suggestions: one is to embrace the shelter. Questions: what have you allowed in? What have you resisted? Be like a tree. How have you nourished yourself? And what have you created in this time? And be still. What have you put down? What have you released? What have you let go? And what has emerged from this stillness for you? Is there a gift in this sheltering in place for you on this Shavuot in this year? I want to, I want to read you a poem, and then I would love to hear your thoughts on any of those questions. And I realize my poem here. 1 second. Let me come back to it. Can you see the poem? Can you see the poem? Okay, I'm going to read you the poem. It's called Imagine. Imagine with me for a moment. Don't worry. I'm not saying it's real. Imagine, if you can, that there has been not a calamity, but a great awakening. Pretend just for a moment that we all so loved our threatened earth that we stopped going on cruises, limited international flights, worked on cherishing the places where we already are. In this pretty fantasy, everyone who possibly can stops commuting, spends the extra time with their kids or pets or garden. We have the revelation that everyone needs healthcare, sick leave, steady work. It occurs to us that healthcare workers are heroes and teachers, not to mention the artists of all kinds who teach us resilience and joy. Imagine, if you will, that we turn to our neighbors in mutual aid, trading eggs for milk, checking in on those who are elderly or alone. Imagine each of us felt suddenly called to wonder in this moment, what does the world need from me? What are my gifts? Yes, I know it's just a fantasy. The world could never change so radically overnight. But imagine. And it's by Lynn Unger. And she wrote this year in March 20th. So it was pretty much at the beginning of this quarantine. So I want to ask the questions. I want to open it up now to anyone who wants to either write in the chat or speak. And these are the questions. I will put them up again. Let's see. Embracing the shelter. What have you allowed in? What have you resisted? Actually, you know what? What I think I want to do is I want to just ask that general question of, is there a gift from this time for you? Okay, so Gerald, I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead.
Yes, well, I didn't come up with this myself, but I heard it.
Okay.
And it said, the guy said, he's discovered the purpose of life amidst all this is
Yeah,
to live your life.
right.
And so that's what I'm doing. And I really feel liberated from it, even though I'm wearing a mask when I'm going outside or going to a store or whatever, and doing what I got to do. But in the meantime, I'm doing what I want to do too.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Andrea, Alfie, go ahead.
I've just realized, I mean, obviously everything going on, but there's so many of us before that, you know, we were told you can't work from home, right? You can't attend meetings. You can't participate in services, right? You have to be in person. And now look at us, right? I haven't been to Shavuot services, I think since Rabbi Kovod was a rabbinic intern at B'nai Israel, just because I have little kids and, you know, and now here I am with 160 of us are still hanging on the call.
I know.
But you know what I mean? I think that if we keep what people have built and what we've opened up, and as we open back up again, right, going back to Rabbi Heidi's, as we get out of this narrow place later, if we can keep in mind, how do we stay accessible for everyone? You know, how do we always make sure that people who can't be physically with us, how can they be socially and spiritually with us? How are we always making sure that people who might not want to tell us they have health concerns, can be active and with us. I think if we can keep this in mind, you know, all of us, there's so, like, this place is lousy with rabbis right now. There's like a rabbi every other box on here, but you know, I see leaders from all different congregations and Jewish organizations. And if we can think of how do we continue to make sure we have everyone with us going forward, no matter pandemic or not, I think that's a great thing for our Jewish community.
Thank you. Great. Sherry and Daryl.
Hi, thank you, Rabbi Zimmerman. This is a gift, just giving us this wonderful program and opportunity to express ourselves. And I have so much to express. I'm not going to do it now because it'll take up your time. But my gift has to do with what you said about, as we are sheltered, to look at things we haven't seen before in a way that we say, oh, I've never noticed that. And it reminds me of a friend of mine. I love her so much. When she was in the hospital, she said the same thing. She said she noticed the birds outside the window, how they were singing and the colors. And now she keeps at her home a little home for the birds, a little bird home. And every time I want to give her a gift, like a birthday gift or something, I always give her some picture or something with a picture of a bird so I know what she likes. And so I also noticed some colorful cats in my backyard that I haven't noticed before. They're so gorgeous. I'm not a cat lover, but they come under one of my trees to get away from the sun. And so I'm just happy. I'm so happy with that. And I appreciate you so very much. Thank you. You're a gift. Thank you.
Miriam.
You know, I heard it said that we should switch the way we refer to the term social distancing. We're not social distancing, we are physically distancing. We are being as social as we ever were, if not more so. My sister and I have reconnected with our cousins in England and Wales, and every Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock we have a Zoom call. These are our only two first cousins. And their father, my uncle, died about 6 months ago. And we have reconnected and gotten to know one another. I think when there's an emptiness in our lives, we naturally look for ways to fill it. And so we have been able to use the technology and all the other tools that we have at hand to fill our lives in ways we never imagined. And I know that I was supposed to go to New York next month for my ordination, and it's going to be online. Whereas the disappointment of not being with my classmates is real. It means that my entire village, all those who helped to get me to where I am now, will be able to participate and be there with me where that would not have been possible. So there are blessings, even in the negativities.
Thank you. Thank you. David Sarno.
Thank you, Rabbi. That was a terrific rubric, and I will put it to good use. And you made me realize we've had my wife and I have had so many lo yadati moments. I didn't know.
Yes.
I was touched by the nature comment that you made. And you know that as we walk in our afternoons, we see things we've never seen before. Plus, as I heard earlier said, we don't socially distance, we physically distance, but we socially engage. And I think that's the key. And one last comment, look at all the words we heard tonight start with mem. We heard Mitzrayim, from narrowness. Then we heard midbar. Midbar means wilderness or nothingness, but within the word midbar is devar, is everything.
Right.
It's from everything, from nothing comes everything. It's a seed of equal or greater opportunity. And then matana, that says from giving a gift, you should go give the Torah out to people, help them understand Torah. I think we're always going from something to something else, and that's what I like to live by.
So beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sheila.
Oh, am I on?
Yes, you are. You're on. There's
Shavuot.
just a couple more minutes left.
Hag Sameach, everyone. So this experience has been so interesting. I try to observe it as I'm experiencing it. And for me, more than anything, and I apologize if it sounds selfish, but this experience has really been about letting go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the most profoundly for me is my younger son is 32. He's severely autistic. He's in independent supported living, and I haven't seen him for 9 weeks. So I tease, oh, he's autistic. He invented social distancing, right? But the gift of that, and I shared this earlier today with the group too, not to be macabre, but I can let go now and know that when I'm not on the planet, he's going to be fine. The relief in that is, I don't know if there's an Memon word with it, but it's really from my emotional, spiritual well-being. I can let go of that worry.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sheila. So we're not going to be able to get to all the hands that are raised. I'm sorry. In conclusion, I want to say that, as I said in the beginning when I was saying the wilderness of right now, is that we are far from over. This is far from over. And so I hope that these 3 ideas of embracing the shelter, be like a tree, and celebrate stillness can stay with us as we continue to walk through this time. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. This has been fabulous.
Yasher Koach, Rabbi Jill. Thank you so